Shubhda, just check when we are live. Let us know. We are live.
Yes, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the second episode of Moms Collective. And this time we are going to be engaging in a conversation around how do we shift the perspective, that is, from seeing from the eyes of a diagnosis and shifting from there to seeing from the eyes of the child. And that's a journey in itself. And it's not a short journey, it doesn't happen overnight. It happens with quite a bit of trial and error. Uh, you take 3 steps ahead, 2 steps behind, and slowly, steadily, one reaches a kind of balance or equilibrium, and maybe then slowly it starts becoming second nature. So today, I think we'll come to know quite a bit of how these wonderful moms have journeyed through that process. So, welcome everybody. Welcome to our speakers, and of course, everyone who is listening on live. Recording of this will be uploaded on YouTube later, so you can even watch it later. So, I'll get right into it with a little bit of intro. So, like everyone here, that is Pratima, Shubhada, Josna, Shubhangi, Shraddha, each of them to tell us in brief a couple of things about themselves and their children. So, one is, first of all, of course, where do they live and their any profession that they're in or a profession that they have left to become full-time caregivers to their family and children. The other thing is how old are their children and what is the specific disability that their children have. So, and please also do mention you have a daughter or a son, basically the gender of your child. So with that, I think I will start with yeah, Josna, you can go ahead first.
Yeah, thank you, Dola. Okay, hi everyone. Thank you for joining in today. I'm Jyotsna. I live in Pune with my family, my husband, 2 daughters, and 2 cats. My younger daughter has a diagnosis of cerebral palsy, which is has been a journey. It's basically both physical and intellectual disabilities. And as for me, I am co-founder Club Youngistan. It's an online learning platform and also hosting Moms Collective here today. I also work as an emotional well-being facilitator and therapist. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here to learn and share and listen.
Thank you, Josna. Yes. Shubhada, you can introduce yourself next.
Yeah, thank you, Dola. Nice to be here again. And I'm Shubhada. I live in Pune with my family. I'm a mom of blessed with a girl with a very beautiful, lively, young 34-year girl uh, born with Down syndrome. And I am in MBA, and I left. I was teaching in a college when Sai was born, and I left that to be with her almost for 10 years after that. And then I joined the special education field to get myself trained so I can help her in future. And I did the course in UK and as well as in Mumbai, and worked as a resource room person as well as volunteered in special schools and got myself acquainted with many things related with special needs. And currently, I am a assistant mom to my daughter in her art studio where she works 76 days a week, and she loves it. Thank you. I'm glad to
Thanks a
be
lot,
here.
Shubha.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot. Yes. Yeah. Okay, Shubhangi, you can go next.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this program. I'm Shubhangi Vaidya. I live in Delhi. I'm a professor in a university and a single parent to two young men. The younger one of whom is neurodivergent, has a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder. He's 27. And well, that's it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Shubhangi. Yes. Shraddha, you can go next.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Dola. I'm so glad to be here, again. Well, my name is Shraddha, already told. I'm a, how should I introduce myself? I'm actually a 16-year-old special mom. When I say 16-year-old, my son Ishan, who's on autism spectrum disorder, is 16. We stay in Delhi. I'm a single parent and a banker at heart. Almost like 16 years, experience in banking. But currently, I work with a startup. Considering the fact that it's very near to my house and it's pretty manageable considering the kind of responsibilities we have as a special parent. That is it about me. Happy to be here.
Thanks, Shraddha. Nice. I didn't know you were a banker. That's wonderful. Yeah. Yes, Pratima, you're next.
Yeah, thank you, Dola. So hi everyone, this is Pratima Binge. I live in Pune and I'm a chartered accountant. I have told first myself about myself because I don't want to forget that I'm a chartered accountant. I live with my husband, my son who is 21-year-old and who is diagnosed with global developmental delay. And also we have golden retriever pet. So we are four living in Pune. And now I am totally dedicated to Club Youngistan and another gifting venture that I have called Little Throwbox that is started for my son. So me and my son goes there and do some work. So that is what we are doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So such wonderful diversity actually in every which way. So that's really something. It's really diverse and that's really nice. So I think to get to know a little bit about you and your children really makes all the difference because the journey is definitely unique for each one of you and for your children as well. So to I would like, obviously, we have an hour, so I would like to straight away get into some of the questions that I had for inquiry, for seeing together your experiences around it. So, so my first question is, how does one shift from the lens of diagnosis-based learning to be a parent to your children to heart-based seeing, right? So how has it been for you, for each of you? So I think I can just go like how I went in the intro. So I started with Josna, Shubhada, Shubhang. I'll just keep on doing that. So I think Josna, you can answer that question first, and then
Yeah.
next I'll go to Shubhada. Yeah.
Okay, I think I'd like to start by saying that when my daughter was born, I did not receive a clear diagnosis for her because there were too many medical complications, and post-surgery, she acquired the cerebral palsy, so she wasn't born with it. But as soon as the diagnosis happened, the medical labels started really, flowing in. The terms were too many. I still remember spastic diplegia, intellectually challenged, surgically corrected, congenital heart defects, slower learner, so on and so forth. I think the lens of diagnosis-based labeling is also enabled because I think the earliest years, because she had cerebral palsy, And we started therapy at the age of 6 months. It was every single day of the week, I think twice a day as well. They're all spent in therapy centers. And it means various therapies. There's NDT, there's speech, occupational, sensory, and all of them rely on diagnosis. And when one is spending most of their time at therapy centers, I think a parent does buy into the diagnosis, and so did I. I think it took me longer. It took me a while to get into the heart-based thing that we're exploring, how we shifted. I think thanks to venturing forth to explore schooling for her, that was an eye-opener for me. We were in Bombay then. And the absolute, I think, the disappointment that I won't just use the word inclusion, that's huge, but also accessibility for somebody who could not walk. And I then chose to homeschool her because that option was not available for me. And I think it was only when I started homeschooling her, not when based on a program, but just spending time with her, actually paused, to be with her, uh, to look at her as an individual, rather than as somebody who needs to fit into that mainstream kind of a system of society, a personality of her own, a curiosity that I saw that I had never witnessed, not because she didn't have the curiosity, but because I just didn't have the time. And I was so caught up with the rehabilitation on this mom on a mission to help her. And I think just that little shift in perspective happened because of the system. I think I was kind of pushed into a space where uh, I decided to venture forth into the heart pacing, and I'm really thankful for that. It took me a while, but I'm really glad I got there. Yeah. Thank you, Dola.
Yeah. So before I move on to Shubhada, I wanted you to elaborate a little bit more on what would you call a heart-based scene?
For me, it's more about holding the space with her. Somewhere we fit into the labeling of the medical system, which means certain things are not possible, is what I was told. Okay. I mean, we were spelled out the worst diagnosis for her, that she would probably never speak, never talk, not live a certain kind of an equipped life. I caught up with that. I got caught up in that. So for me to shift out of that into a heart-based thing was seeing her as an individual, not the disability. I know it's very easy to say it, but with the cerebral palsy, it's really difficult as well because the child is not moving, needs help with every single activity. But spending that time with her without worrying about that she needs to go to school or she needs to be, she's this age and she needs to get somewhere. I think letting go of that outcome bit for me was a part of that heart pacing. And I still do it today. So I think it's quite a journey. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Josna. I might come back to this topic a little bit more slowly again, but we can move on now. So I have some things that came up for me when I was listening to you. So yeah, Shubhada, what do you have to say about this?
See, what Sai was born with Down syndrome, and luckily, I say luckily because it helped me later on, is that the doctors within the first 2 hours of her birth let us know, or let my husband know about this disability. So we got the time to accept, or, we didn't spend much time into figuring out. And luckily, I had a very positive image of one Down syndrome girl I knew when I was in America, that she worked and so I had a very positive image to begin with, that she can do this. And then, of course, you read a lot about it, the characteristics and this, and they can do this and that. So with all that information, you start, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to train her, this, that. And then slowly you realize that, well, my little girl has her own mind and her own characteristics, which are not that, that can't be standardized like that. So you have to accept it, as you go on. And that is the acceptance journey, as we go on, because it's not like it's a process, right? As Jyotsna said, it's not like a button you push and you accept it and you unaccept it, or you change your focus. It's not, it's a process you learn through many experiences. So that's what happened. And then you went on realizing what it works for her, what it doesn't work, and how slowly you shift your focus, looking at the things, what she wants. and not what I want and what I should be doing. So slowly that focus shifted, and the slowly what I had read and what I had thought about the Down syndrome and what that slowly pushed into the background. So it has happened. I think it is still continuing. I mean, it's not like, we have achieved or nothing like that. So that is a continuous journey. And in the process, later on, when she was a teenager, I started thinking that how she's looking at me, what is her perspective about me, how, like, we think about her as how she's looking at me. I mean, just in a short, a small incidents, like I have shifted a lot of houses. So when we were shifting, how we are packing things, we are rearranging this and that. And in midst of that, she's sitting in that clutter and listening to her songs. And I was like, oh, this is what you're doing, and you should be helping me out and this thing. And within a minute, I saw her packing her little backpack she had with some games and things. And she kept it near the door. And she said to me that, when you have time, I will spend time with you. And then you will be okay. So she was looking at me as, all this stressed out. And I was unclear about that's how she was looking at me. That's what I felt, that I don't have a clarity. She must be what I'm expecting from her. So that was like a first thing I realized, this is, that I have to be more clear with her into what I am doing, what we are doing as a family, what is to be expected later on. So later on, then I started sharing things with her more as I should be, as a growing up daughter or something like that. So slowly through these experiences, my focus has shifted, that how she's looking at things. And I have come to realize that she has this mischievous personality, a little short tempered, but a mischievous personality, which I come to adore and like it. And she's really like a friend now. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really like the point that you made about a lot of times we are looking at our children from the perspective of how we want them to be.
Yes.
But we rarely ask our children what they want from us, isn't it? Like, it's so like, it's such a hierarchical system in a way that it's always about what the older people or the elders expect of the children. But I don't know why, because I think the children also expect certain things from their elders. And we rarely find that out. And that you brought out so beautifully, uh, that you actually came to know what she was expecting from you, and that is so beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thanks
For bringing that insight. Thanks a lot. Yeah, so next we can just move to Shubhangi.
Yeah, hi. So, unlike conditions like cerebral palsy or Down syndrome, autism does not have any physiological markers by and large. So, the child's milestones, at least in the case of my son's milestones, were perfectly all right. He was creeping, crawling, walking, etc. Developmentally appropriate time. What he didn't do, of course, was talk. And also in terms of his social reciprocity and his socialization, you could obviously very clearly see that there was something not quite like his older brother. And see, he being a second child, I had a child who was not much older, just 2 years older than him, to kind of, compare the developmental trajectories. So we very early as parents got a sense that, there was something a little atypical about this young man. But when I look back and just listening to the other parents' journeys also, I realize how blessed I have been, because right from the get-go, we were introduced to Action for Autism, which is an organization, an NGO that is probably at the forefront of autism advocacy and work in Delhi. There was actually nothing, very little available in terms of facilities for children with autism. I'm talking here about 25 years ago, which was 27 now, and he was diagnosed when he was around 3, when he was 2.5 or 3. So I still remember the first day I took him to Action for Autism. He was 3, and I kind of was clutching onto him and took a very, very long bus journey from one end of the city to the other. And I entered this, little place, and the kind of welcoming, he was welcomed with smiles. There were these young volunteers who were there who, just kind of swooped down on him and said, "What a cutie." There was so much positivity. And so when I got the, assessment that, clearly there is, he's displaying the signs of autism, it was all done in such a kind and accepting way that really set the tone. So, and I've spoken to a lot of other parents about the way they receive a diagnosis, and frequently you find that they are given this very doomsday kind of a prediction. Many of them are told, "Oh, this, your child has got something which is incurable, so you better go in for another child. This child will never go to school. This child will never lead a normal life." When you get that sort of negativity at the, right at the very outset, that in a sense colors your perspective towards your own child. But we were really lucky that we did not have, that sort of extremely negative kind of, picture painted before us. And even though autism is such a highly medicalized condition, I mean, whenever you go to the doctor, you go to the medical professionals, just the term autism spectrum disorder, right? This word disorder is, kind of thrown at you all the time. And it's made very, very evident to you by, the medical profession that your child is abnormal. Whereas I think right from the beginning, because of the way also that, and I must, at this point, recall my late husband always used to say to me, he is our child first and he's everything else second. So whatever it is, he is our baby. And, that kind of sense that, this is our baby and our baby may be a little different, that's fine, but he's our baby first. So we had this kind of, perspective, which was only strengthened by the people in the community who we associated with. And so therefore, I mean, I can say this honestly, I have never thought of my son as being disordered or being disabled or being, I've always thought of him as being a very, very different person, differences which can get difficult to deal with. But then all children have that. I mean, I think my older son has got, as many difficult things to deal with as, my younger one does. But then, of course, these are human differences, these are human diversities. Some can just be harder to deal with than others at different points of time. But I think that's more or less the way I've looked at him right throughout his life.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. And really nice to know about autism. What did you say? Autism for?
Action for Autism.
Action for Autism. Sorry, I just got mixed up with the words. I was in Delhi and I had some friends who were part of that. I don't know if you've heard of Madhusudan Srinivasan and Shubhra Gupta. Yeah, they were very good friends. Yeah, very good friends of mine. So that's when I had heard of them.
Mine and Vishnu's too.
Yeah. So I thought I should let you know that we know them well. Yeah, and in fact, I must say that my journey of understanding neurodivergence and other intellectual and physical disabilities, especially autism, I actually came to know because of Madhusudan and Shubhra. I had no awareness of it. So it was because of their son, and he was very young at that time when I first met them. And that's when I came to know. So I actually didn't know about it. And that is something that always baffles me, that so many people actually don't know so much about disabilities and neurodivergence and disorders. And I think for me, that kind of became like, we must talk more and more about these things. So thanks a lot for all of you for being who you are and your children. So, Shraddha, that we come to you now. So if you want to share, yeah.
Yeah. So, what we're talking about is a shift. Let me tell you, that shift is not easy. It's like a 360-degree change in your perspective. So when Ishan was diagnosed with ASD, and we got to know the word autism, it was like, now what exactly is that? Didn't understand a word of it. people kept on telling, started reading on Google, what exactly does it mean? And when he was growing, he was extremely, it was autism plus ADHD for him. And he was so hyper that initially, okay, so there is a probably people say that boys are typically very hyper, they're very active. So everyone, when I used to tell them, he doesn't sit, he doesn't observe. So if you don't sit, you will not observe, you will not learn. I was always snubbed by saying, oh my god, he's a boy, so boys are active, it's pretty normal. And I exactly started behaving how the society wanted me to do that. So as he grew, I thought it's better for me to hide him, not take him anywhere. And if he was doing something absurd or abnormal, maybe jumping or just shaking his hands, I will stop him, because I felt it was embarrassing for me to, witness people gazing at him, with that eye. So I used to hide him. When we started with his therapy session, the doctor said, since he has ADHD, I would recommend you buy some weights, tie the weights, which were like 2 kg, 2.5 kg each, on his legs, make him wear a full pant, and then take him outside. Okay. And probably that was an eye opener for me. He was my son. He was not a cattle that I would tie weights in his legs and, then take him outside. So I thought, no, there has to be something done about him. He has been a very, stylish boy ever since, from a very young age. So instead of tying those weight, what I used to do is take a nice backpack, stuff it with a lot of heavy items, maybe books, toys, make it heavy, and then ask him to, wear it. So for him, it was more of a style, but he will not move much. So that helped. Maybe that doctor asking me to tie his weight made me change my perspective. So now, so we were talking about how we're changing the perspective from a diagnosis base to a heart base. Now that was exactly my turning point, when I started viewing it more from a heart perspective. Oh my god, he's my son, I can't do this to him. Now if I can't do this, then what, was the next question. And that's how I started working a little, started talking to a lot of people. uh, uh, Obviously my family, there was nobody who could guide me, because by the virtue of nobody, none of us ever had experienced staying or living with a kid or an individual who was on spectrum. So as and when it has been a long learning for me also. uh, and now what has happened is, uh, uh, I don't go basis the diagnosis. For me, it is looking beyond labels. Now I see my child as a different personality. I work on his unique strengths, his interests, his overall likeness. Whatever he likes, I work on that. He loves music. I started working on his music skills. It gives me great results. His sitting span, attention span was zero. And what I realized is he loved colors. So I started painting sessions for him. That worked. Now his, by virtue of him sitting and paint, his sitting span increased. So I think the learning was, understand the kid, uh, look him up as a, and we celebrate all his little achievements, because he's happy, he wants to do. So when people applaud when he sings, he wants to do more shows. He's like a professional singer. He can't talk, but he can sing. So that is an achievement that, and it's been a long process. As Shubhada, Shubhangi, everyone said, Jyotsna said, it has been a process, never ending process, learning from, it's trial, hit and trial, whatever works well, we started off. So yes, that's been our journey.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Shraddha, for being so open and vulnerable as well, about certain things in your journey. And I think the key insight for me from your sharing is that to focus on what your son, that is Ishan, Interestingly, my son is also Ishan. So, interestingly, what you said about Ishan is that when you started focusing on what he likes and what gives him joy, and what brings sparkle in his eyes, when you started doing that, uh, that itself made things different, and that's such a important piece of insight, I think. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yes, Pratima, uh,
Yeah,
you're next.
yeah. So for Kush, diagnosis happened at the age of 2, and we didn't know what to do. And yeah, like label is necessary when we are at that stage, because we have to understand what the underlying characteristics of certain things are. So that's how the
Yeah.
label was necessary, but we didn't know what to do, because the same thing like what Shraddha said, we also didn't have anyone in families. I have never seen someone with disability. So that is the thing, and then started with this diagnosis. And then uh, after some time, like they used to tell us that iska IQ test karo, ye karo, wo karo. So initially he was 2.5 or 3 years. That time we first time did the IQ test. I said इसमें ये लोग क्या मतलब ये बोल रहे हैं ऐसा, but I don't know. I mean, I was a little skeptical that how this works. Later on, once again we did, and then I realized when that is happening, the test, they have certain questionnaires. So she was like asking colors or do something or the other thing, and then that time maybe Kush was not doing it, and then I was thinking and I was telling her that see, he can do this, but here in front of you he is not doing it. So
Mhm.
is that what how you will look at it? But she was like listening to me, but she was observing Kush, and then her diagnosis, a report was like based on her judgment. So then I realized she is judging in that 30 minutes or 1 hour time, and I am with Kush always. I know what he is doing, what he can do, what his actual challenges are. So diagnosis, fine, that label is there, but definitely that cannot define what your child loves and what are actually his challenges. I mean, whatever the global developmental delay, when I don't know what it includes now also, because I see it like what challenges Kush has, and what and how I can help him to come over those challenges. So that is how I look at it, and it has started changing then when it happened. Like this therapist used to do those IQ tests and all. So later on, then we have like started taking him always. We used to take him out with us, and then I started thinking that no, he is whatever he's doing. Like he has this habit of streaming. So we used to tell him, Kush, please don't do this, or something. What is babbling? We used to tell him like, don't do this, don't do that. But then later on he realized that it is his thing to like whatever he's going through, it is the outcome, but he cannot express, so he's expressing through those things. So later on we have like started not telling him, and we used to take him outside everywhere, like restaurants where the live music is. He loves music, so live music he will dance and all. And because of him we have made so many friends. Whenever we go out, like, people will come and like they will like uh, continuously telling him like, okay, dancing, and he is the one who is the crowd puller, so he will go on the stage and then everyone will start dancing and all. So it's a very nutshell journey, but this perspective shifting started the eye opener, what we call it as a turning point, what we call it is that IQ test. After that I have never done IQ test. Even if
Mhm.
someone tells me now, okay, for the certificate we have to do, but that is the formality. That is not the something
Yeah,
that will define what Kush is. So,
yeah.
yeah, so that's how it should.
That's Yeah, in fact, it came to me when you were sharing about Kush, is that when I'm doing storytelling with them, when Kush is there, and I realize that he responds really well to music. And so I've started adding more music to the sessions. And when there is music, then I can see his eyes just like, suddenly that there is so much life in them. And even with Sai, when there is music, then she goes into a contemplatory kind of a mood. She will be like, I can see her face, it changes. So she's like, she's thinking something, she's lost in the music. It's so beautiful to watch that. And I just love it. So uh, I realized, ki, okay, I do tell stories, but I have to reduce that time of bug. And through music, I can draw them out more. And that has been a real shift for me. So even as a storyteller, I was like really wanting to see it from their perspective, that how can I make it more engaging for me? Because ultimately it's about the child, not about me, really. So that music bit is like really something. So he's really making me work now, because I have to like draw out good music which they will enjoy. So thanks a lot. Yeah. So wonderful sharing the first round. So I want to move on to the next question. In a way, it's related. So if somebody doesn't feel like uh, contributing to this question, it is all right. So my question is that a lot of times, see, each of you have children with different disabilities or conditions, right? So, and each of them have a certain kind of behavior pattern, and which is unique in a way, right? Uh, so, so my question is that, like behavior patterns of neurodivergent persons, intellectually and physically challenged teens and young adults are seen as unconventional, like by the world. Like it's not mainstream, it's not typical, it's different. How does that play up in your journey with your children? And how do you, how do you face those scenarios? Like I have seen with uh, parents with typical children get so embarrassed even when their child talks a little loudly, or runs around a bit, and that's just normal child behavior, and still they get so like embarrassed and ashamed, and they want to shut up the child, or they want to leave that place, or so many things they do. I mean, I have seen that happen with a lot of my friends and family. But I can understand in your case, it is something that is part of day in and day out life, right? So, so I'd like to know your response. Like, what are your insights around that, and how has that journey been? I know it's not easy to say it in a nutshell, but just maybe the key insights that. So maybe Josna, I can start with you again.
Yeah, Dola. I think in my daughter's case, it was more about sensory sensitivities. We were totally clueless about it. So you go into an Italian restaurant and you've just got to rush out. We weren't used to it. I had an older one, and suddenly the whole meal is disrupted. It was also leading to anxiety. Sounds, smells, so birthday parties were out. And it did cause a lot of issues with socialization, going out, and we would have to find an explanation. And I think medically, what we did is we took help through the sensory integration therapies, because that comes as part of it. So I think that helped. But I think deep down, it also involved like coming back home and seeing what we can do, more like tuning in into, okay, there is a discomfort here. So it's not about avoiding, but how we can help her out. I think more like rather than resisting that behavior of hers, and it was not deliberate, it was part of that what she carried, the sensitivity. I think all of us just started welcoming it. So we would order in food, maybe we would go for a drive rather than for a meal at a restaurant. I think beyond it, I think a point in time I've really stopped wondering perhaps how the world views her. It just doesn't make sense because it's so exhausting, and it's a family unit. You start working with it at home. And so primarily it was about the sensory sensitivities that made her stand out, leading to the anxiety. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Josna. Thank you. I think Shraddha, you had raised your hand.
Yeah, hi. So
Yeah.
so obviously, uh, disability where there's a physical change does attract a lot of attraction and unwanted attention. In case of Ishan, he was very cute to look at. So from an appearance perspective, just by seeing him, you will not realize that there is some issue. However, as I mentioned earlier, that he was hyperactive. Matlab, hyperactive was like too, extremely high. So he'll start running, flapping his hands, um, just running here and there. It was very difficult for me to even take him to a marketplace. As I said, that was the reason why I used to try and hide him. Um, what happened differently in my case was, for him, since he was in ASD, he will not understand if somebody is laughing, why he or she is laughing. So is he happy, that is why he's laughing? Or is the person making a mockery of me, that is why that person is laughing? He will not understand. So for him, if anybody is laughing, he's fine with that. The problem was with me. So typically I understand, I was on ASD. He was not. He was perfectly normal in his life. I was. So with time and with a lot of helping hands, especially from my mom and couple of friends, when that confidence came and that acceptance, I would say that acceptance came, that okay, whatever happens, as I guess Shubhangi was mentioning, that he's our son, so he's my child. I have to live with it any which ways. What else can I do? That's when it started changing. And what we now do is just try and respond to all the curious looks and questions with a lot of pride and positive attitude. So that's the only change that has happened in my life. So people ask me questions, I answer them as blunt as I can. So there is no hitch. Okay, yes, no, maybe, no. It's just straight away, yes, he's a special kid, he's on autism. Yes, it's difficult for him to communicate, that is why he's speaking like this. However, if you see his paintings, I'm sure you will not be able to do like this. So that's, it's about building that resilience and showing others that my child can do this while the others can't. So that has made a lot of difference in our life. Basically has made the struggle a little easier than before. That's the only thing.
Yeah. I love your perspective. Thank you so much for sharing this. I remember I had read, I used to read a lot of Osho. I think all of you are aware of Osho,
Yep.
right? And Osho had written that very clearly, that never be embarrassed of your own child in a public space, never. And that was such a, and he, of course, he went on to explain a lot of things after that, but just that one line saw me through a lot of episodes and spaces, that I don't have to be at all embarrassed for my child, no matter what. So that was a very powerful thing that Osho had said. Shubhada, yes, uh, would you like to add something around this?
Yes, actually, the first thing, being in public places. Okay, the Down syndrome spectrum, or I won't say spectrum, but children share some similar features, or so people come and ask you, I have seen her there, I have seen her there. That those kind of inquiries come very often, which of course they are not very disturbing as such, but the stairs are lot, because they do look different. And when our children start noticing the stairs, then it becomes a little a tricky thing to handle. So the first thing I would do is, when she was a lot younger, is that, oh, because you're wearing such a lovely dress, or such a nice. So that was when she was much younger. But later on, when she started noticing it more, because when we were in UK, she was like very little, and there people don't stare much. So, or even if they want to say, they just come and say hello. So after even coming to India, I'll say, if you find someone is looking at you, you can just say hello. You go and say hello. or you give a nice smile to them. So, that would start a communication, or at least make them look. When you see that this is a person, who is going to respond to your this thing. So that worked little bit. But many times it would not, because a person is insensitive, then they will laugh or they will not respond to her hello, or, like that. But one incident happened, and there was one function, and she and myself, we were going climbing stairs. And there were some children who were standing there, and they were staring. They didn't mean any harm. They're being children. There's nothing wrong with it. Just staring, and there were many. So I said to Sai, should we take a lift instead? Climbing stairs. Then she said, no, she looked at me and she said that, no, it's okay. They are just being rude. So maybe then that made me realize this is how she's dealing with it. So, but then that means she has noticed, and she has chosen. And she's being brave about it. So I said, okay, fine. So from that day on, I just followed her lead, and I've seen umpteen number of times to not to focus on the stairs and just go past it, you know, like that. So she herself shifts her focus to something else, or continues with whatever she's doing and not doing that. And then later on, as she's grown much older, I have find her to be a little more mischievous also about it. That one lady used to, in a very sweet sense, nothing wrong with it, going down, every day will ask her the same question. That, did you have your tea? I mean, that was so, as if that Sai has nothing else to say, say or anything. Every day, did you have the tea? Oh, can you bring some tea for me or something? And the fourth day, Sai tells me, here comes tea auntie now. So that was so nice. And I told even her to, she has named you now, tea auntie. And that lady had such a good laugh. And then she said, oh my God, now I must change myself to,
That's good.
because tea auntie, like that. And then another thing was that rocking, that when she was little, now it is much, or almost it's not there, rocking in a public place, because suddenly, but then if you just gently involve her into something else, just call her out, it should stop. So what I figured it out is that maybe we need to involve her positively, so she wouldn't slip into her own this thing and do it. So that works a lot, especially when people are coming to your house. I always go over with who are coming, who are they, what can you talk to them, what they might ask you. That helps her to carry on the conversations and get involved into things, and she doesn't feel left out, and in even public places. So I don't plan a lot of things. I plan something little with her, go out and do it. Don't, stress myself out and stress her also out about it. And another thing is that when she wants to express something, she's very verbal. She talks, but sometimes that is little difficult, something to express. Like there was one beauty, we were visiting a temple, and there was one beautiful tree there, which was like round and like, in a uh, places, in a paintings, like there's a perfect shape and very green like that. And she was showing me that tree. I said, didn't understand what she's showing. Then finally she went there, she stood behind under that tree, and she took a pose like a Krishna. So she wanted to tell me about that. See, this is the tree, this is kind of a tree which is painted in, like, usually Krishna stands under that tree. So a grown-up girl, in a temple, it's when people literally stand around and watch. So whether there is a dance or something like that, like that. But I just take it in a stride. I let her do. I do not say that don't do this. I think it's fine. This is more important to me that what she's expressing. And it's very nice. Yeah. So we just go ahead like that. So
Thank you so
that
much.
makes it
Yeah.
easier. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yes, lovely. Yeah, lovely, lovely,
Mm.
lovely insights. So,
Mm.
okay. So, Shubhangi, you want to say, add to that question a bit?
Actually, just, one of the things that was coming to my mind listening to a lot of the experiences is that there is a tendency by whether the medical profession or by society or by special educators to talk a good deal about children's behaviors. This word behavior is a big thing, and there's an entire industry on how to set behaviors right.
Hmm.
But what is very important to also keep in mind is those behaviors aren't just dropping out of the sky. There are very real reasons which perhaps the individual is not able to articulate, or you're not able to really understand why. So the behavior is not a thing in itself. There is always an antecedent before the behavior. There's always something that happens before the behavior. So, as teachers, as parents, we need to be attuned as to what is leading our individual to have, difficulties in dealing with certain things, or, I mean, I hate the word behavior, so I don't want to say.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
I think, so, this kind of very therapeutic thing that we have to fix the behavior, we have to fix the behavior. I think what we have to really recalibrate ourselves is that we have to try and understand,
Understand.
what is it that is triggering the individual. And
Yeah.
if you work on the antecedents, if we try to deal with the causes, so if you take your child to a particular individual to a crowded party where there's blaring music, there's lots of lights, the likelihood of an individual who is extremely hypersensitive to sound or to bright lights and all having having a meltdown or having difficulty in that situation is pretty high. I mean, you're setting that person up for this kind of negative outcome. So very often, and you just think about it, when you think about persons with conditions like autism, look at what they are actually dealing with. Just look kind of sensory overload that they are facing, and the fact that they are leading their lives and doing their best to fit into this world is nothing short of heroism. I mean, they are heroes. So it's something which we really need to appreciate. But unfortunately, the tendency is always, oh, this individual has got, problem A, B, C, and we have to fix him or her. So it's fix the environment, so all individuals can fit comfortably in it. And just a little incident I'd like to share, which I really never forgot. I mean, we'd gone to a wedding once, which was there were some Malayali nuns who were also, attending that, and my son was twirling because there was music going on, and was, and I was feeling a little awkward because, this is not very typical behavior, and those ladies were looking at him. So I was trying to nudge him to stop, but a little while later, one of the women came to me, one of those nuns came to me, and she said, your child reminds us of Sukesh Kuttan. Sukesh Kuttan actually is a singer who was on one of the reality shows in Kerala. A brilliant singer, an autistic person, an absolutely brilliant singer. So I heard her whispering, like Sukesh Kuttan. So then I said, yeah, actually, he also has autism. And those ladies were so happy to, talk with me. They blessed him. So the point is, we always think that people are going to think the worst or going to be, but there are good human beings also. I think we need to, appreciate that most people are not bad. Most people are decent. Most people are good. It's just that difference is something that none of us are really used to. So when we see something different, our first reaction may be one of curiosity, of staring, of being sort of quite puzzled or confused by it. But I don't think that comes from a negative intent to deliberately hurt or deliberately wound or deliberately cause pain. So once I think one tries to see the world also in a positive way, which I think I do very consciously, and I think I try to see the best in people. I think that also helps me to deal with difficult situations, and also, really understanding the way in which all our individuals are dealing with a world that is not kind to them, a world that is not made for them in a sense, but still dealing with it so amazingly. So, I mean, there are causes for celebration every single day, I feel.
Yeah. Thank you, Subhangi. Yeah, I think it's what came across very clearly from what you shared is that uh, more than fixing, what we need is empathy. I think that's something that we all need a lot in our lives. Empathy, that is putting ourselves in somebody else's shoes and try to understand. So this fixing of behavior is become quite like you said, an industry in itself, rather than actually admitting that maybe, maybe just maybe the way things are in the environment are probably not so good for anybody. So we're not
Not
really,
maybe, definitely.
yeah,
And it's not just for
no, I
children on
mean,
the spectrum, but for all
yeah,
children. Yeah.
exactly. So,
Yeah.
so actually, to really look into that, that is what we really probably need to talk more about. Thanks a lot. Uh, Shubhada, I'll come back to you later. I want Pratima to share, and then I'll come back to you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure, Dola.
yeah, Pratima.
Yeah, so I agree what Shubhangi said, and continuing that people are not that
Yeah,
bad. So I have also experienced so many good things, like Kush is included everywhere. Like now also, the recent thing is like in Dhol Tasha Patak in our society. So they have, I just asked that can Kush be part of it? And then they all are ladies and like grown-ups are there in the that group, but they have immediately said that it will be very good if he can participate, and we will be like very happy to see him in that group. So he's participating, he has participated in day one, and now again day after tomorrow he will be participating. So it is like including him everywhere, so that happens. And like I was sharing earlier, when we go out in restaurants and all,
yeah,
people are generally very kind, and they admire what Kush is doing, and also they admire us that you are bringing him here, because no like we are not seeing many people around us who are coming in public places like this. So that is what I wanted to just add on what Shubhangi said.
yeah. Thank you. Yes, Shubhada, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I just what I always think is that since Sai is born, I mean, I have Sai, so she's opened up this door to me about the neurodivergent world and the various disabilities and what their problems and the strengths are. But suppose I wouldn't have had her, how I would be behaving? Would I be so would I be so informed? Would I be so sensitive? And wouldn't have been have stayed? So that made, I thought myself about it, and I said, yeah, I understand how the other person feels. It's just that we need to inform in a tricky way, or not at our cost of our children. But so that's how I think when people do ask. And as Shubhangi and Pratima said, we do get a lot of positive inputs, and that really helps. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Shraddha, you want to add anything to that? Or should I move on to the next question?
Yeah. So it's like a collaboration. What everyone said, there are bits and pieces involved. So we may move on to the next question.
Yeah, okay, okay. Thank you. So my next question is like I think I'd like Shubhangi and Shubhada more to respond to this question. Does gender of the disabled child and young adult, so whether it's a child or a young adult, have its own challenges? So there is the disability and the condition, and then there is the gender of the child. So like how do you think the world is looking at that, and how do you shift your perspective in that area, and how have you tried to navigate this with your child? I think that's something that that's a question that comes in my mind. So maybe Shubhangi, you can say first, and then Shobhada.
Okay, so I'm a parent of a young adult in his late 20s now, and I live in an extremely rough city, which is Delhi, where masculinity is something which is quite scary. And the way in which a man is supposed to be carrying himself, holding himself, moving through the city, uh, is quite, it is quite disturbing. So I think one of the things that happens with persons who are, who have conditions like developmental conditions or intellectual disabilities, they tend to be rather overwhelmingly surrounded by women, whether it's the caregiving at home or whether it is schools where by and large, for the greater part, special educators tend to be
Are
women. Yeah, so they don't really have very good, male role models. So that is one issue. So the way in which their persona develops is also something, because a lot of the way boys get socialized is by watching older men, or so in many ways I think it, and I can say this about both my children, both my sons, having been a single parent and a feminist mom, I think I
Shubhangi, your audio is gone.
is this okay now?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think it buffered for a second. I think I've tried to bring both my children up in ways that really conform with my feminist ideals in terms of how men should be respectful of women, conduct themselves in public spaces and so on. So I think it has to that extent, worked. But there are also, issues in which, like for instance, I cannot accompany my son in many places which are male dominated places as a woman, right? It does make me uncomfortable. He travels, he uses public transport in the city, which can sometimes be extremely rough and extremely challenging. So, but his persona, I would say, he's a big burly chap. Nobody would, to use Delhi language, take panga with him easily. So I think, he's also found his way to negotiate his masculinity and his sort of male person. But yes, gender is something that is really, a lot of people say to me sometimes, oh, you're very lucky you don't have a daughter, because having a daughter with disabilities is probably far more difficult than having a son with disabilities, which is a very strange thing to say, because I think all individuals are vulnerable to, the things that are happening around them. And I don't think being a man or being a boy gives them any kind of special, protection from, from violence or whatever. So, but what the fear that I do live with is that in this extremely rough, abrasive, sometimes abusive place, how will he be able to hold his own when he is on his own? Because I don't know whether he has the tools to deal with aggressive behavior from another person. But well, I mean, I think there's also something called dignity of risk. You cannot corset an individual, or you cannot just keep them within the four walls. You have to let them out. You have to let them learn the world. You have to you have to sort of make them negotiate with the world and learn their own lessons. And so that can sometimes be quite tough and quite scary, to be honest with you. But it is what it is. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much, Shubhangi. Yeah. Yes, Shubhada, your perspective would be different because you have a daughter. So,
yes. I agree with Shubhangi. It's when I say gender, I mean, I don't mean to say that men do this and women, girls do this, and no, nothing like that.
No.
It's just my personally what I feel is that I have a daughter and she is a grown up now. So I think it is, since she is a daughter, and it's a lot easier for me to move with her in public places. And I feel I find that if I had a son, it would be a little more difficult or challenging. Because take an example of a swimming pool. She loves swimming. And sometimes when we go on holidays or somewhere, she's in the swimming pool and she wants company. And we do a lot of stuff. We jump around and she pushes me. She tries to get on my back and things like that. So that is, in the eyes of the society, it's perfectly fine. A mother-daughter playing along like that in the swimming pool, isn't it? So that is there, especially when we are traveling and there are places when there is toilets are somewhere behind, you You have to manure
Yeah.
yourself. I find it much easier. That she's a daughter,
Yeah.
and I can easily help her out
Yeah.
in difficult situations. And another thing that engaging at times is that when we go visit uh, some visit to other people's houses when there are festivals or something, I find that I'm easily engage her with the things I am doing. I'm helping out there or doing that. It becomes much easier because she's a girl and she's accepted like that much easier way. I have a bunch of friends from my school friends are there, which once a year we go out somewhere, spend couple of nights with each other. So when 1 year I could not come because of some problem at home, and they said I could not leave Sai because there was nobody else. So they said, why don't you bring her along? And that was such a easier thing to do because, and she
Yeah.
fitted in so well. Now they say that, oh, even if we go shopping, bring her along. And I've realized when we shop, she is so much interested, things that she uses terms like, this is cotton silk or this is silk or that, mama, this looks good. This looks good, so she's become a friend. So
Yeah.
that is being, I think it has come more with the ease because she's a girl. That's what I feel.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
personal feeling I have.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
a thing. Yes.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Just, can I just add something to that? So,
Yes. Yes, please.
so it's very funny because now whenever I move out, I feel extremely safe when I have Vishu with me because he's this big burly fellow, and so I mean, so from the days when I had to hold his hand and lead him, it's now he holds my hand and we negotiate the metro and various things because he's very good at negotiating public space. So, and also things which would be regarded as behavior that you don't want to encourage, like bulldozing your way through a crowd, heading right at the top of the line. These are very normative behaviors in, in Delhi. So if you're you've gone for a wedding and, you expect people to behave like retiring violets and not, go to the head of the queue and, serve themselves first, like you're never going to get any food, so my guy just knows how to make his way and, make his way through space and get that first meal. So that's really a big help. So, I kind of slide in my plate also, मेरे लिए भी लेके आना थोड़ा सा. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
honestly, I feel very comfortable in public with him because he has that, physical size and aura about him, which it indicates that this is a burly young man who you don't want to mess around with.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So we are going to be kind of closing the session because we are like we've reached. Sadly, I would like this to continue for more, but we all have time constraints. So I just want to just give me 5 minutes so that we can wind it properly and not abruptly. So one thing is that first thing about this whole gender thing is I love the way both of you brought it out so beautifully, and I kind of uh, like Shubhada, you kept saying this is your personal feeling, but I just want to say that uh, the world has in so many ways segregated men and women, that we have made this space is no men allowed, this space only women, and that has also created these difficulties for us. Like a lot of time women feel more comfortable only with women, and we don't feel comfortable when there is a male, and that itself can become a challenge so many times, that we keep the man out, we keep the boys out of and also we women are afraid when there are too many men. So this is something that the world has become, and so it's not really personal in that sense, because why are you feeling sigh of relief that with say you can go to these places? It's because we have created a world of segregation. So we can talk about this again in another session. Uh, and but my there is a question somebody has asked on Facebook, and do you want me to take this question, or do you think we can actually make it into another session. So the question I'll read out. The question is how to tackle the fear of future of our child survival as an adult post our death. I mean, I know this is a very, very uh, it's a question on everyone's mind. It is there on every parent's mind, whether you have a typical child or not a typical child. But it is definitely much more enhanced in a parent who has a child with some kind of disability. So I think it's a really big question, and I don't know what you all feel like, because it'll have so many angles to it and another journey in itself. So, do you think we can make another session out of these kind of questions, which are more existential, so to say? So, Pratima, would you want to say something to that so that our listeners are aware that, okay, we will take it up, but in another session or something like that?
Yes, yes. So we will take this up, and maybe we'll have another curated session. Maybe this is not a question for one episode also. Maybe we will have to do two, three multiple episodes on this. But definitely we will take these questions shortly.
Okay, okay. And the other question was, would like Josna's details. So I guess you can do a kind of a DM with the person and figure that out with yourself. So my last thing is that before I close, any message before ending the session that any of you would like to give out to those who are listening to us in a nutshell, like around this topic that we have talked about. So yeah, Pratima, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'll just say that identify your child's strength and build on it. Then understand the challenges they are going through and help them to get them over. And accept if some things they are not able to do it, then we all have that jugaad wala thing. You can fix it with some jugaad if they are not able to do some things. That is the thing I would. Thank you.
Thank you. Shraddha, you have some message that is coming to you, want to share?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, you know, all the fingers are not equal. So all the kids can't be same. What's Ishan's strength will always remain Ishan's strength. How I build on it is my responsibility. What he can't do. So, for example, academics is not something that interests him much. I don't focus on that too much. It's just a bare necessity, according to me, that he should do complete his schooling. If he does graduation, I'll be the happiest. Even if he doesn't, he has so many fields to do. So have trust that these kids can do something. They are not a burden. It's just that our hand holding with them is not for fewer years. It's for our complete life. That's the only difference, and I've accepted that completely with with my whole heart. I think that keeps me moving.
Thank you, Shraddha. Thanks so much. Yes, Josna.
I think keeping the theme in mind today about seeing the world through a child's eyes, I think just one line that the realization that the disability is not to be fixed. And I think Shubhangi mentioned that. And the only other word that I would use is that you learn to manage it, which is why you reach a certain state where you understand that this is what I can manage and learn to work around it. Right. I think that's what and also it was a beautiful sharing. So I could take that away from all of this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Shubhada, what is your message? Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I would say that I mean, to learning through and managing this disability, should I call it a disability and condition, because Down syndrome is a condition. And so that has been an enriching experience personally for me. And because it has opened so many doors, and I have learned about myself so much that probably I wouldn't have learned that so much. And what I am today, it is because of that journey with sight. And so that is, I feel gratitude towards it. So I feel
Thank
that,
you.
yeah.
Thank you so much. Yes, Shubhangi, what would your closing lines be for
Well,
today?
all our children are individuals, and I think we need to respect their individuality. So that is what I would end with.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, all of you. It was wonderful, and I think we were able to cover some of the most important topics for the day today. There were still some questions which I wanted to ask, but then phir milenge, chalte chalte.
Yeah.
No problem. We are all here.
Yes.
So thank you for those who are on
8 to
Facebook
50
watching us.
एक्टिंग में
Yes.
एक ही
Sorry,
प्राइस है,
somebody said anything?
प्राइस किसको मिला है?
Okay. Okay. So bye everyone. See you again next month.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
See you
Yes.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for moderating it so well. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks,
Thank
Dola.
you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.